Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast and YouTube channel. Coming up today, it's another viewer topic that I'm going to cover, and that is 5 great one-and-done artists we only heard from for one album. Covering that coming right up. Hey, it's Russ, and when you cover a topic like 5 great one and done, sometimes there's no way to avoid the obvious with this type of thing, because there's many albums that artists have just put out the one album and it was enormous. But then there's other ones that people don't even know the hows and whys of why there was just the one record and that was it. So thanks to a viewer of the channel, that's going to be the topic that I'm going to cover. As far as viewers go, I say this in every single video, but please make sure if this is your first time on the channel, hit the subscribe button, drop us a like, but more than that, what matters to me is the comment section. So leave me your thoughts on these 5 that I'm going to list, and tell me some of yours. I'm sure there's far lesser known artists than I'm going to list here that had just the one record, and we definitely would have loved to have had more from them. So the first one on my list is one of those ones that's kind of an obvious one, and that's Derek and the Dominos, Layla and Other Assorted Songs. Now, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, I don't have to tell you the whole history of who's in that band and how influential and earth-shaking that record was. But a lot of people don't know that there was just the one studio record, and then they were disbanded. And from everything that I've learned, it pretty much had to do with Eric Clapton's personal life really got in the way of that project going and continuing on, and more coming from it. But for that one record, it was definitely something that has touched so many different lives. So that's a great one. Another one, and this is as oftentimes is the case in the music industry, is unfortunately the result of tragedy, and that is Jeff Buckley's Grace LP, which was his only full studio record that was released, and then unfortunately due to accidental drowning, where from everything I've read, by all accounts, there was no alcohol or drugs involved. This was truly just a tragic accident. We lost Jeff, and that record, Grace, really jumped right to legendary status upon Jeff's death. But on top of that, it gave us what many feel is the definitive version of Leonard Cohen's classic Hallelujah. So many of us would have loved to have heard what else Jeff Buckley would have done in the future. But that Grace album is definitely a big one-and-done LP. The next 2 that I have on the list are both something that I definitely think the term supergroup applies to. And they both come from the Seattle grunge era of music, one of which is the members of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden came together to basically write 2 songs and make the album Temple of the Dog, which was a self-titled effort. They ended up writing an entire rest of the record around those 2 songs, but the original 2 songs that were written for that album, Reach Down and Say Hello to Heaven, were both meant as a tribute to Andy Wood, who was a pillar of the Seattle community and by all counts would have gone on to be quite an amazing influence on the rest of the 90s. Unfortunately, Andy passed away, and because of that, the group he was in disbanded and caused several other Seattle groups to occur, and that's why they all came back together. Now, I know the original intent for the band was to pay tribute to Andy Wood, but that was just with those 2 songs. The rest of the LP is absolutely fantastic, and I would have loved to have seen more material come out from those 2 bands together. And the other one from that time is the band Mad Season, which featured another kind of all-star situation of people from Seattle, most notably of which at the time was Lane Staley fronted the group. And through one reason or another, with Alice in Chains' success and all of the booming success that was going on at that time, there was not much more from Mad Season other than the one record Above and the big huge hit single River of Deceit. But outside of some live performances, they never really sat down to record another record. And most people think the group went away due to Lane Staley's passing, but it was their bass player John Saunders who passed away first, which really kind of broke up the whole idea of Mad Season. And then after that, Lane Staley passed away and pretty much knocked out the idea of ever getting more material from Mad Season. The last one on the list is another one from the late 90s, that whole era where we had so many big hits and bands with more potential, and one of them was this band called the New Radicals, which everyone knows the song, You Get What You Give. But what's interesting about the New Radicals is their lead singer, he, in the middle of the tour for that record, when they were getting ready to prep a second and third single, kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, we're just going to end up a one-hit wonder. Never expected them to have another hit as big as You Get What You Give. And he just issued a press statement right in the middle of the tour saying that the band was over and they weren't going to be doing anything else. They had the second and third singles from the record retracted. They were never officially released. And because of that, we only got the one record from the New Radicals. And that's a huge bummer, because if you've heard that album, the rest of the album is absolutely great outside of that one song. So it's a bummer that we never did get more from the New Radicals. So that is my list of 5 great one and done. I think there's a couple of obvious ones on there, but I also think that there's a lot on there that most people wouldn't think of. And as I always say, I want to hear from you in the comments. Let me know some of your favorite one and dones, even if it's a side project or something where everybody might know about it. I always want to hear from you. So make sure to drop a comment below. If you want to, hit the link below and subscribe to the Infectious Groove Podcast. And as I always say in these videos, thank you so much for watching.